The tension in the hall lingered long after Ibrahim Traore stepped away from the podium. Cameras still panned, capturing the faces of delegates frozen between shock and disbelief. Murmurs started again, hesitant and low, like distant thunder, before a storm. Some whispered praise for his courage, others debated the recklessness of his action. But no one could deny that the room had shifted. The polished veneer of diplomacy now cracked to reveal raw, aching truths. Outside the glass walls of the building, the world moved unaware of the seismic tremor rattling the foundations of global politics. The streets of New York, bathed in early morning light, bustled with lives untouched by the spectacle inside. But far away, in the dusty lands of Burkina Faso, where the sun rose fiercely over dry earth, the ripple was felt deeply. In a small village nestled between cracked red soil and sparse baobab trees, a young girl named Awa stirred from sleep. Her bare feet touched the cold floor of her modest home, a simple structure of clay and straw. The scent of burning wood and fresh millet porridge wafted in from the cooking fire outside. This morning was different. Her father, a miner weary from years of toil in foreign-owned shafts, hummed a tune she rarely heard, one of hope. In her hands, Awa clutched a faded photograph of her older brother, lost to the violence that had become a shadow over their homeland. The edges were worn, the smile faded, but to her it was a talisman stronger than any stone. She didn't understand all the words spoken in distant capitals, but she knew this: her family's suffering was no longer invisible. Back in the Grand Hall, Ibrahim's mind drifted briefly to that village, to Awa and countless others who lived lives defined by resilience in the face of indifference. His own journey had been forged in such crucibles. Born in a small town on the edge of the Sahel, his childhood was marked by hardship and hope tangled like roots in the dry earth. He remembered the night his father had brought home a broken watch, its glass shattered, its hands frozen in time. "This," his father had said, "is like our country, damaged but still capable of healing." The watch became a symbol to Ibrahim, a reminder that even when time seems to stand still, life could still move forward. Now, standing amid the titans of the world, he carried that broken watch in his heart. His voice, once soft and uncertain, now bore the weight of generations demanding change. The French president, seated again at his place, exchanged sharp glances with his aides. A flicker of anger crossed his features. This young man had shattered. The script exposed uncomfortable truths on the global stage. But behind the indignation, a flicker of respect stirred. This was no ordinary disruption. This was the emergence of a new voice, fearless and authentic. "Mr. Traore," the president finally said, his tone both measured and cautious. "Your passion is clear, but these allegations require due process. Diplomacy must be preserved." Ibrahim met the gaze steadily. "Diplomacy without justice is a lie. The people I represent do not have the luxury of waiting." In that simple exchange lay a profound clash. Old power grappling with new demands, words against lived realities. The room was silent again, the weight of history settling over the assembly. As the session adjourned, journalists swarmed Ibrahim, eager to capture the man who had dared to speak truth to power. Cameras flashed, questions poured in, but he answered with calm, his focus unwavering. "We speak not for vengeance," he said quietly, "but for dignity, for a future where our children do not inherit the scars of exploitation." The news spread rapidly, the story crossing borders and oceans. In cafes from Paris to Nairobi, in markets from Ouagadougou to New York, people talked of the young leader who had taken a microphone and shattered silence. Yet, for Ibrahim, the battle was only beginning. Back in Burkina Faso, the miners toiled in shafts that sank deep into the earth's bones. The gold extracted fed distant coffers while their communities grew poorer, their voices drowned in the noise of foreign interests. Militants armed with shadowy funding prowled the borders, threatening fragile peace. Corruption gnawed at the roots of governance like termites in dry wood. But amid these hardships, sparks of hope flickered. Local leaders gathered in secret meetings, inspired by Ibrahim's boldness. Women who once feared speaking out found courage. Children who had lost their way returned to school, their eyes bright with possibility. One such woman, Miriam, a teacher in a remote village, stood before a class of eager faces. She held up a drawing made by a child, a tree with strong roots and branches reaching for the sky. "This," she told them, "is our country. The roots are our past. Tough, tangled, sometimes painful. The branches are our future, full of promise. And we, each of us, are the caretakers." The metaphor resonated deeply. Just as Ibrahim's stone was a symbol, the drawing became a beacon of resilience. But resilience was fragile. As Ibrahim returned to his office that evening, the weight of responsibility pressed heavily. Reports came in of unrest at mining sites, of families displaced, of whispers that his defiance had made enemies in powerful places. His closest advisor, an older man named Kofi, watched him silently. "You carry the hopes of many," Kofi said, "but also the burdens of their pain. You must be careful." Ibrahim smiled faintly, exhaustion shadowing his eyes. Careful, yes, but not silent. The night stretched on as he pored over documents, messages from allies, and plans for reforms. The stone lay on his desk, no longer just a talisman, but a reminder of the path ahead. Days later, as tensions rose and negotiations stalled, Ibrahim stood again before his people in the capital. The square was filled with faces weathered by hardship, but alight with determination. Children clung to parents. Elders raised fists in solidarity. He spoke with passion, not just as a leader, but as one who shared their struggles. "We have faced storms before," he said, "and though the winds howl, we remain standing. Our story is not one of defeat, but of becoming. Together, we will reclaim our future." The crowd erupted in cheers, the sound rolling like thunder across the city. In distant capitals, governments watched warily, diplomats whispered strategies, and journalists framed narratives. But the people of Burkina Faso, and many beyond, felt something stirring. A quiet revolution of hope born from one man's courage to seize a microphone and speak truth.